and welcome. Tonight, President Bola Tinubu approves the Renewed Hope Nigeria policy, mandates all federal ministries, departments and agencies to give priority to Nigerian goods, services and know-how. Senate resumes plenary, announces plans to work closely with the executive to address socio-political tensions, especially the crisis in Rivers State. Federal government reaffirms commitment to a business-friendly environment that upholds human rights, fairness, and the rule of law. And the Israeli military begins calling up tens of thousands of reservists to intensify and expand its operations in Gaza.
And on business, strong demand fuels growth as Nigeria's Purchasing Managers Index holds at 54.2, according to Stanbic IBTC's latest report.
On sports news tonight, England defender Trent Alexander-Arnold confirms he will leave Premier League champions Liverpool at the end of the season, fueling speculations of an impending move to Spanish giants Real Madrid.
And from the nation's capital, the Federal Capital Territory Administration issues stern warning to land developers to steer clear of flood-prone areas or risk sanctions by the administration.
We begin tonight with a plan by the President, Bola Tinubu, to unveil an executive bill on the policy known as the Renewed Hope Nigeria First policy, which is aimed at prioritizing Nigerian businesses and local content, and this is to foster a new business culture in Nigeria. At a briefing after the Federal Executive Council meeting, the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, says the policy aims at changing government spending, procurement processes, and economic development to support local industries. Our State House correspondent, Larry Lasisi, reports.
Ministers and other members of the Federal Executive Council gathering in the State House Council chamber. They are joined by some appointees who are to be sworn in. The chairman and 10 commissioners of the National Assembly Service Commission and 2 permanent secretary designates. Immediately the president arrives, the appointees take their oath of office. They each have a handshake with the president. The Federal Executive Council meeting then commences. A few hours later, it is time to brief correspondents on key decisions taken in the meeting. A key one is the Renewed Hope Nigeria First policy.
This seeks to foster a new business culture that will be bold, confident, but also very, very Nigerian. And it aims at making government to invest in our people and our industries by changing how government spends money, how we procure, and how also we build our economy.
The Bureau of Public Procurement is to enforce the new guidelines.
Advise and enforce procurement guidelines to prioritize locally made goods and homegrown solutions. It has also been directed to create what is called local content compliance framework for all government procurements.
Approval was also given to address some dams in the country and prevent flooding disasters.
From the Ministry of Water Resources, Federal Ministry of Water Resources, contracts has been awarded for the repair of the Alao Dam in Maiduguri. You may recall that this dam caused the flooding in Maiduguri last year. So this contract has been awarded to prevent such occurrence this year.
Nigeria's membership of the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank was also revealed.
And we are fully fledged members of the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, of course, which is set up to promote infrastructure development and generally sustained economic growth in all its members.
Approval was also sought for the establishment of the National Cocoa Management Board.
As you all know, cocoa is the highest non-oil revenue contributor to the Nigerian GDP. FEC graciously approved the memo, and we're going to submit the the draft bill to the Attorney General and Minister of Justice.
Council also approved two critical policy documents, the National Integrated Electricity Policy and the National Policy on Marine and Blue Economy. According to the Minister of Power, he said the policy document seeks to address critical challenges in the nation's electricity sector. From the Presidential Villa, Lanre Lasese, Channels Television News.
The Senate has announced plans to work closely with the executive to address socio-political tensions, especially the crisis in Rivers State. According to a statement issued today ahead of the resumption of plenary at the National Assembly, the leader of the Senate, Opeyemi Bamidele, says the goal is to reconcile key stakeholders and resolve underlying issues in the interest of national stability and reconciliation across the country. The statement also adds that as lawmakers resume the upper chamber, first on the agenda is the further consideration of the tax reform bills 2024. Concerns over the resurgence of insecurity in states like Borno, Benue, Katsina, and Plateau were also raised, and the lawmaker said the legislature will intensify consultations with security agencies to restore peace in the affected regions. Meanwhile, the Senate is expected to begin the screening of nominees appointed by the presidency, including officials of the South-South Development Commission. In the meantime, the National Assembly has asked the Supreme Court of Nigeria to dismiss the suit filed by 11 governors from the People's Democratic Party challenging the declaration of state of emergency in Rivers State. In its response, they contended that the suit was procedurally flawed and lacked merit. It further argued that the court lacks the jurisdiction to entertain the suit and should award 1 billion naira in costs against the plaintiffs for filing what it termed frivolous and speculative suit. The National Assembly also argued that the plaintiffs would not secure resolutions from the respective state houses of assembly, a prerequisite for approaching the Supreme Court under its original jurisdiction provisions outlined in the Supreme Court's Original Jurisdiction Act 2002. The 11 PDP governors had approached the court to raise questions on what authority the president has to suspend a democratically elected state institution and replace it with an unelected one. A free and independent press is the backbone of democracy. Well, that's according to the United States Ambassador to Nigeria, Mr. Richard Mills, who is a special guest at the ongoing workshop for media chief executives in Abuja. The U.S. envoy, who also spoke about the emerging threat from the disruptions caused by artificial intelligence, underscores the importance of innovation for media practitioners. The workshop is organized by Channels Academy, JSM Foundation, and the United States Diplomatic Mission in Nigeria.
Morning, sir. Morning.
The general manager of Channels Academy ushers the United States Ambassador to Nigeria into the hall, where Channels Academy is partnering with the United States Diplomatic Mission in Nigeria and JSM Foundation for a workshop organized for media executives.
Innovation into our daily operations.
Innovations and media business sustainability are the crux of the discussions at this workshop.
We're all journalists and we're all facing the exact same issues. It's about money. We all know, and we have to remind our journalists that this is actually a business. We're not just here telling stories. So the questions that we're going to explore here are really about what will real transformation look like in a Nigerian newsroom.
The chairman, Channels Media Group, Dr. John Momo, is represented by the general manager of Channels Academy. He underscores the importance of innovation in the face of digital disruptions.
This workshop comes at a defining moment of the media industry. We are facing profound disruption. Audiences are shifting. Technologies are evolving, and traditional business models are no longer sufficient. But in every challenge, there is an opportunity. That is why this workshop is so vital to us. It is a strategic platform for reimagining the future of journalism and the media. This is our chance to explore what sustainability and innovation truly mean for the African media space.
The special guest of honor is the United States Ambassador to Nigeria, who speaks to the importance of a free press in a democracy.
A free and independent press is the backbone of any strong democracy, and particularly Nigeria's democracy, hold Nigeria's leaders accountable, and foster the kind of dialogue that will drive good governance, economic growth, social cohesion in this country.
Participating media executives have high expectations.
My expectation is finding out how to be able to improve on the revenue base of the organization. And you can only do that if you make the environment conducive for your staff.
We all need to look at how do we sustain our organization, what kind of model should we look at, and these are things that is very key.
The media business landscape is a very challenging one. However, participants are hoping that the knowledge from this workshop will help them navigate this complex environment.
The ECOWAS Court of Justice has called on government authorities in its member state to ensure that international human rights instruments are ratified, domesticated, and fully implemented. The president of the ECOWAS Court of Justice, Justice Ricardo Monteiro Goncalves, said at the opening ceremony of the court sensitization program held in Lagos today, says the court is on a mission to restore hope, build bridges, and serve justice where it is most needed. Our judiciary correspondent Shola Shieli reports.
This sensitization program of the ECOWAS Court of Justice attracted key officials of the court, top government officials here in the host country, representatives of the body of lawyers, law enforcement agencies, schools of law, civil society organizations, and other relevant stakeholders. The host governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, described the presence of the court in Lagos as a vital step necessary for the much-needed partnership to address the challenges of member states.
Only by coming together and dedicating and rededicating ourselves to the rule of law can we truly build a peaceful, thriving, and inclusive West African community where everyone's rights are safeguarded and the opportunities are plentiful.
Issues of the ECOWAS Court undermining the judiciary of nation-states came to the fore, as well as the difficulty in enforcement of the decisions of the courts.
Judgments are delivered by the court. To have them enforced is problematic. You have to use your personal contacts with presidents and attorneys general. It's not good enough. So, my Lord, under your leadership, we will request that we have the nexus between domestic courts and the ECOWAS Court is addressed.
Through sustained dialogue and mutual respect, we can define and respect jurisdictional boundaries, encourage the appropriate referral of matters involving community law, and give full effect to the judgments of the ECOWAS Court. In doing so, we not only strengthen the rule of law within our respective countries, but also bolster the credibility of our regional legal order.
The host chief judge also acknowledged some of the issues, but remains confident that collaboration and a complementary relationship is key.
If you are saying that if you have difficulty to obtain justice in your country, come to us. And all of these countries contributed to forming ECOWAS and the ECOWAS Court, then they are the ones who demonstrate honesty by ensuring that all right, what we have agreed to, we now need to give it back into it by enforcing the judgments of the court. But like I said, the bottom line is natural. No nation will submit the totality of its own sovereignty to any other panel.
The president of the ECOWAS Court of Justice has restated the commitment of the court to bring justice closer to the grassroots and is counting on the collaboration from member states. Shola Shieli, Channels Television News.
In part two, after the break, federal government reaffirms commitment to a business-friendly environment that upholds human rights, fairness, and the rule of law. Please join us again. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10, coming to you live on Channels Television from Lagos. A reminder of our main stories. President Bola Tinubu approves the renewed Hope Nigeria policy, mandates all federal ministries, departments, and agencies to give priority to Nigerian goods, services, and know-how. Senate resumes plenary, announces plans to work closely with the executive to address socio-political tensions, especially the crisis in Rivers State. Federal government reaffirms commitment to a business-friendly environment that upholds human rights, fairness, and the rule of law. And the Israeli military begins calling up tens of thousands of reservists to intensify and expand its operations in Gaza. There is a reaffirmation coming from the federal government, a strong commitment to a business environment that upholds human rights, fairness, and the rule of law through the full implementation of the National Action Plan on Business and Human Rights. And this was disclosed by the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Lateef Fagbemi, at a high-level workshop on business and human rights in Abuja, organized by the National Human Rights Commission in partnership with the United Nations and others. Our correspondent Benny Ark reports.
A two-day high-level workshop on business and human rights is underway in Abuja to advance ethical business practices. Organized by the National Human Rights Commission and the United Nations, the event is promoting economic growth that respects human rights. In attendance at the Attorney General of the Federation, UN Resident Coordinator, the National Human Rights Commission executives, diplomats, government officials, business leaders, civil society groups, and the media. The workshop focuses on implementing Nigeria's National Action Plan on Business and Human Rights, approved in 2023, which seeks to create a business climate that respects human dignity and promote accountability. The National Human Rights Commission Executive Secretary outlined the workshop's objectives, followed by comments from key stakeholders.
The action plan provides a practical framework for government, businesses, and civil society to work together to prevent, mitigate, and remedy human rights abuses linked to business operations.
By working together, we can create a business environment where economic growth coexists with respect and protection of human rights, a business environment that will attract trade and investments for a prosperous Nigeria.
The UN Resident Coordinator called for stronger collaboration and action on implementation.
Let us take this moment to be a call to the global community to stand with Nigeria, support its effort, and help shape a future where profit never comes at the expense of people.
The Attorney General of the Federation reaffirmed government's commitment to human rights-centered business practices.
The country is adopting a holistic approach in addressing these issues, from employment practices and environmental sustainability to gender equality, land rights, and security. We are determined to ensure that the implementation of this action plan is inclusive and impactful.
The workshop continues with strategy sessions and experience sharing as stakeholders push for a more responsible business environment. The message here is clear that it's time to act, collaborate, and make human rights the heart of all business in Nigeria. Benny Ark, reporting for Channels Television News.
We head to Borno State now, where the governor Babagana Zulum has announced the resettlement of 6,000 families displaced by Boko Haram, mainly from Dikwa and Mafa local government areas. This announcement was made today at the Muna IDP camp in Maiduguri, one of the largest camps in the state, currently sheltering over 11,000 families affected by more than a decade of insurgency. Governor Zulum says the decision was driven by growing concerns over rising criminal activities within the camp, including prostitution, gangsterism, and child abuse, which he noted undermine the broader fight against insurgency. He stressed the importance of restoring dignity through settlement, allowing displaced persons to return home and rebuild their livelihoods. As part of this initiative, each of the 6,000 families will receive food support, building materials, and healthcare access. 100,000 naira will be given to each household head and 50,000 naira to their spouses to support the reintegration plan. We head over to Abuja studios now to bring us you more on the news at 10. Terry Kumi is standing by. Over to you, Terry.
Well, thank you very much. And we'll begin with infrastructure now and environment. The Federal Capital Territory Administration has issued a stern warning to land developers to steer clear of flood-prone areas or risk sanctions by the administration. The coordinator of the Abuja Metropolitan Management Council, Mr. Felix Obua, gave the warning while embarking on an enforcement exercise on some buildings in the nation's capital, contravening the Abuja Master Plan. According to him, land developers who encroach into floodplains and deface the Abuja Master Plan will no longer be condoned.
Some top officials of the Federal Capital Territory Administration, led by the coordinator of the Abuja Metropolitan Management Council, are embarking on an enforcement exercise to building sites contravening the master plan of the city. This building is situated in Utako district, and the FCTA alleges that the company lacks approval for the land right behind it, and as such, the construction ongoing is illegal.
The building has been in existence, has all the necessary approval, but this area is a green area. I think the building was considered to ceded to a Chinese company, but they now trespass from the building down to the green area, trying to acquire this, which was not originally in the approval. That's exactly why we're here today. We have mobilized equipment. All the hotels are here has to go down. We have to open up the channel to make sure there's no flooding in Abuja.
From Utako, the delegation proceeds to the Gazapia district, and just like the previous location, these buildings are being constructed on the waterway.
We're here to remove the offending structures that were not approved. This is a total case of compromise, because there's no way you can tell me somebody didn't know these structures were coming up. So part of the process is we're going back to the office to do the administrative needful. Who and who were here when these structures were coming up, and then we applied the necessary structures. Developers across the FCT, that appropriate sanction will be meted against anybody that contravene the provision of development control guidelines and Abuja Master Plan.
After the interview, the demolition commences. Determined to restore the master plan of the nation's capital, the FCT administration vows to continue the enforcement exercise to ensure full compliance. Kumbi Aboluade, Channels Television News.
Well, staying in the Federal Capital Territory, a group of Nigerian youths have staged a protest calling for the immediate release of popular social media critic Martin Ose, popularly known as Very Dark Man. The protesters who marched from the headquarters of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission to the premises of the bank where he was arrested, and then to the National Human Rights Commission, held placards with different messages demanding for the immediate release of the social critic. The protesters, however, declined speaking to journalists on camera, but insist that the arrest is unjust and are demanding transparency from the authorities as well as intervention from the National Human Rights Commission. Very Dark Man was reportedly arrested on the 2nd of May in a joint operation involving the Department of State Services, the EFCC, and the Nigeria Police. He is currently said to be in the custody of the EFCC. Now, what role can artificial intelligence play in shaping how government operates and tackling the persistent issue of corruption? Today at the Nigerian Institute of Journalism's 7th annual convocation lecture, these critical questions took center stage.
The lecture hall buzzed with anticipation as the Nigerian Institute of Journalism hosted its 7th convocation lecture. The theme, Artificial Intelligence in Public Governance, ignited the minds of future graduates, highlighting AI's potential to revolutionize their careers and foster positive societal change. Keynote speaker and Comptroller General of the Nigerian Customs Service, Adewale Bashir Adeniyi, underscored AI's transformative power, envisioning a more transparent and accountable public sector in Nigeria through its application in fighting corruption and enhancing efficiency.
Nigerian journalists are increasingly aware of AI transformative potentials in the profession, with research that has been conducted showing that NUJ members recognize AI use for news production. This awareness is an important starting point, although insufficient. You must develop practical skills to investigate and report on AI governance.
The provost of the Nigerian Institute of Journalism, Benga Adefaye, emphasized the institution's commitment to equipping its students for this AI-driven future. He explained how the curriculum is strategically designed to ensure no journalist is left behind in this technological evolution.
NIJ continues to do curriculum moderation, especially as dictated by MBTE. But beyond that, we are also allowed to do local content. I can tell you for free that in NIJ, more than very many schools, more than even some other higher schools, if you come in here, we do both theory and practice. We are equipped, we are started. I wish we can take you to our studios. This is not a place where they just tell you that is what a camera looks like. If you come here, you work with digital camera. So we are aware, we are ahead of the pack, and then we can do better though.
Veteran journalist Martins Oloja stressed that progress requires more than just policy. He highlighted the crucial need for robust investment in technology and innovation across all sectors to truly harness AI's potential.
What is taught in the world now is not just journalism, it's digital journalism. So they need teachers. I think if we can end the story with that one for them to understand, we just beg them to recognize that if we do not invest in STEM subjects, specifically computer engineering, all this AI we are talking about will just be nothing.
As the global conversation around AI intensifies, the Nigerian Institute of Journalism is actively engaging in this dialogue. The institution is positioning future media professionals not merely as observers, but as vital participants in shaping the future of public governance in an increasingly digital world.
Still ahead on the news at 10, strong demand fuels growth as Nigeria's Purchasing Managers Index holds at 54.2, according to Stanbic IBTC's latest report. That's on business news. Do stay with us.
Welcome back to Company News. Guinness Nigeria PLC has marked 75 years of operation right here in Nigeria. The colorful event, which held at the company's premises in Ikeja, Lagos, was a celebration of legacy immersed in heritage, innovation, and its deep-rooted bond with the Nigerian people. The management says the company will stay focused on delivering quality to its esteemed customers.
Since arriving in Nigeria 75 years ago and the establishment of its first brewery outside of Dublin, Ireland in 1962, Guinness Nigeria PLC has continued to stamp its feet within the nation's industrial landscape. To celebrate this remarkable journey, notables including the company's chairman, Professor Fabian Ajogu, Commissioner for Commerce, Cooperatives, Trade and Investment, Mrs. Folashade Ambrose, and the Director General, Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, are all present. The chairman, in his opening address, says Guinness Nigeria PLC will continue to leverage on partnerships.
On our 75th, we'll be leveraging the partnership of a good understanding of the Nigerian business terrain, a powerful distributorship network, a knowledge of the consumer.
A future that would resonate across generations.
And then a short documentary on the successful journey so far. Management of the organization says the company will stay focused on delivering quality and work with the Nigerian people.
Guinness Nigeria will continue to look for newer opportunities in terms of products, categories that we can enter. And yes, we will be launching new brands in the course of time.
We've come a long way, but there's so much to do. It's a brilliant legacy
most importantly, a bright future for Guinness.
Since inception, more than 7 decades ago, Guinness Nigeria PLC has played a pivotal role in the Nigerian manufacturing sector and a shining example of what the country's economy holds.
In terms of investment, in terms of commerce, in terms of trade, and in terms of actually growing our economy, they played a pivotal role.
Guinness at 75 offers a shining example of the promise that the Nigerian economy holds.
For the company's top distributor, Guinness Nigeria ensures a win-win atmosphere for all.
It's a relationship that has been very beneficial to both parties. So just as I said, Guinness they don't just do business with you, they build you, both your capacity and capability.
The chairman and managing director are joined by the special guest to perform this important task of cutting of the anniversary cake. As Guinness Nigeria PLC celebrates 75 years of operation, the management, staff and partners are poised to continue working together, take the company to even greater heights by building on enduring legacies and existing structures.
Let's now check out Nigeria's private sector and other stories from the world of business. Willie Bong is standing by.
Thank you, Anne. Nigeria's private sector continued to grow in April, with the Purchasing Managers Index holding steady at 54.2 points, marking the fifth 5 straight months above the 50-point threshold, which signals business expansion. According to Stanbic IBTC Bank PMI report, the rise in business activity was driven by strong customer demand and a surge in new orders. All major sectors expanded, but services led the way. Employment rose for a 5th straight month, and purchasing activity reached a 2-year high. Despite a slight rise in inflation and exchange rate concerns, businesses remained upbeat. However, confidence slipped for the 3rd month as firms watch global and local risks closely. Now, as solar energy adoption grows in Nigeria, Energy CEO Femi Adeyemo is raising concerns about the quality of imported equipment. Speaking on Business Morning, he warned that without vigilance from Nigerians and the Standard Organization of Nigeria, the country risks becoming a dumping ground.
Solar panel costs, but most especially lithium battery costs. I can tell you that in the last 18 months, battery kilowatt hour pricing had halved at the moment. What does that mean? It means that now Nigerians can get reliable and now affordable solar plus lithium battery. We also don't want Nigerians to just go and install solar, because solar is not solar. And we've seen that a lot in recent time in Nigeria, where Nigeria now is gradually becoming a dumping ground. And that's not what we want, because eventually that will not be sustainable. So as we're preaching residential SMEs to go solar, because indeed the sun can save us, we should ensure that as Nigerians are looking to that, to get solar, they should ensure and ask questions, what type of solar are they getting? If they're getting a 10 kVA or a 10 kilowatt solution, are they really getting 10 kVA? Or is this 6 kilowatts coming from somewhere in Asia and they label it as 10 kilowatts? We've seen a lot of that coming.
Now, outside our shores, the U.S. has rejected Japan's plea for full exemption from a 10% global tariff and a 14% country-specific tariff. Instead, Washington has offered a possible reduction of the 14% levy, which is currently on hold until early July. Japan has been lobbying for broader relief, including scrapping extra tariffs on cars, steel and aluminum. Japan is the first country to enter direct negotiations with the U.S. over these higher import tariffs. Now back home, the domestic equities market opened the first trading day of the week with positive sentiments on strong gains in the consumer goods sector. Here's Laddie Williams with the highlights.
Hello and welcome to the market close summary for the first trading day of this week. And we see the bulls kick off activities this week, taking the all-share index up by 0.62%. And they have it 106,698 points. Last time I reported the market in March, it was trading around 105,000 level. So not much has changed so far. 67 trillion, that's for the market cap. Let's look at the sectoral performance. We see the bright spots for today. That was with the consumer goods, big 2.90% jump. You see the oil and gas counter also following that, 2.58%. But the laggard today, that's banking counter with the sectors that we track, a big 1.62% drop there, with most of the tier one banks dipping today. And we see MTN Nigeria, that's the market mover, adding 2.35% after dipping to about 239 naira in April, with most of the technical indicators that I checked today, with the relative strength index, the stochastic, and the MACD showing, strong buy there, according to those indicators. So this week, the bulls start.
And that's business news. It's back to you, Anne.
Thank you, Will. Outside our shores, Israel's Security Cabinet has approved a plan to expand its military offensive against Hamas, which includes the capture of Gaza and the holding of its territory. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu called it a good plan because it will achieve the goals of defeating Hamas and the return of its hostages. Here's Simon Puse with more international news and around the world in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5.
The Israeli military has begun calling up tens of thousands of reservists to intensify and expand its operations in Gaza. The Israeli Defense Forces says it was increasing the pressure with the aim of returning hostages held in Gaza and defeating Hamas militants. Critics say the recent military offensive, after a ceasefire broke down, has failed to guarantee the release of captives and question Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's objectives in the conflict. Reports suggest the offensive will not happen until after President Donald Trump's trip to the region next week. Meanwhile, Donald Trump says he is directing his government to reopen and expand Alcatraz, the infamous former prison on the island near San Francisco's Golden Gate Bridge. In a message on the Truth Social site on Sunday, President Trump said that for too long America has been plagued by vicious, violent and repeat criminal offenders. The reopening of Alcatraz, once notorious as one of the U.S.'s toughest prisons, would serve as a symbol of law, order and justice, he said. Leading Democrats said the proposal was not a serious one. The maximum security facility, also known as The Rock, was closed in 1963 and is currently operating as a successful tourist site.
It's long been a symbol, Alcatraz, of whatever it is. I mean, it's a sad symbol, but it's a symbol of law and order.
13 miners have been found dead inside a mine in Peru after being kidnapped several days earlier. They were working at a gold mine owned by Peruvian mining company Poderosa, which is based in Pataz province, north of the capital Lima. The victims had been sent out to confront a group of people involved in illegal mining in the area, but were kidnapped by a criminal gang which was trying to gain control of the mine. The gang kept them hostage inside a mine shaft. For a week, they sent threatening messages to the miners' relatives. Brazilian police say they have thwarted a bomb attack planned for Lady Gaga's concert on Copacabana Beach in Rio de Janeiro. The civil police of Rio de Janeiro state, in coordination with the Justice Ministry, said suspects had recruited participants to carry out attacks using improvised explosives, and the plan was aimed at gaining notoriety on social media. A crowd of more than 2 million people gathered for the concert, which was free to attend. Police said the person responsible for the plan and a teenager were arrested. A right-wing nationalist candidate who is against providing military support for Ukraine and is sceptical about the EU has won a resounding victory in the first round of the presidential election in Romania. George Simeon came first with 40.96% of the vote and will go into the runoff on the 18th of May as the clear favourite against the Liberal mayor of Bucharest.
6 months ago, the presidential election in Romania ended in scandal and confusion. It was won by a radical outsider with mystical leanings, Calin Georgescu, but the result was annulled over allegations of campaign fraud and Russian interference.
Please welcome my dear friend.
Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese's centre-left party has won the federal election. Opposition leader Peter Dutton, head of the Conservative Liberal Party, conceded defeat after early counting showed his party would lose and called Mr Albanese to congratulate him on the win. Mr Dutton also lost the seat of Dixon in Brisbane to the Labour candidate. He had held the seat for 24 years. Mr Albanese is the first Australian Prime Minister to win a second consecutive three-year term in 21 years. Addressing supporters in Sydney, Mr Albanese said serving as Prime Minister is the greatest honour of my life.
Today, we continue the work of continuing to build Australia's future. I promise to be a Prime Minister for all Australians, those who voted Labor, those who didn't, and hope to earn the trust of the Australian people on an ongoing basis.
And countries around the world have been marking VE Day to mark the end of the Second World War. Germany's invasion of Poland in 1939 began the war, which is thought to have claimed between 70 and 85 million lives. After 6 long years, Germany surrendered on the 7th of May 1945.
This unconditional surrender.
And the following day, the Allied forces officially accepted the surrender, therefore giving us Victory in Europe Day, or VE Day. A military procession of more than 1,300 people made its way to Buckingham Palace, kicking off commemorative events to mark the 80 years since VE Day. The King, Queen Camilla and the Prince and Princess of Wales were all in attendance at the celebration. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel's studios in Lagos.
Thank you, Simon. Welcome to Sports News. Bayelsa State Governor, Senator Odwoye Diri, has received the torch of unity from the National Sports Commission ahead of the National Sports Festival scheduled to hold in Abeokuta, the Ogun State capital, from May 16 to 30th. Governor Diri was represented by his deputy, Senator Lawrence Evrujapo, highlighted the importance of peace and unity, stating that sports promotes unity, discipline, love and friendship among citizens of a nation. He reaffirmed Bayelsa's readiness to participate in the festival while issuing a stern warning to the organizers of the festival, calling for fairness and transparency in officiating.
The activities at the last National Sports Festival in Delta was nothing but a thing that we cannot want to mention before the media, since there is a media here. We believe that you will learn from that, and the sports will be fair, transparent, equitable, and naturally justiciable. Otherwise, Bayelsa will complain, and we may decide to, if necessary, pull out if we think that we'll be robbed the way we robbed in Delta.
England international Trent Alexander-Arnold has announced he's leaving Premier League champions Liverpool at the end of the season. Alexander-Arnold came through the Liverpool Academy and has played 352 times for the first team, winning 2 Premier League titles, including this season's silverware. The 26-year-old helped Liverpool win the Champions League, UEFA Super Cup and Club World Cup trophies in 2019, and also lifted 2 Carabao Cups, 1 FA Cup and 1 Community Shield. He admitted there was the possibility of staying at the club, but revealed he needed a change in his career.
Let everyone celebrate what we've achieved as a club. At the end of the day, you can be angry and hurt at me, but I just hope that the lads, the rest of the team, the staff, everyone else is able to feel how good a season this has been, and they're able to feel the love and support from the fans as they have done all season. Thank you for everything you've ever done for me. Thank you for the support. Thank you for the love that I've always felt. Thank you for always having me back. I will always love the club. I will always love the people of the club. I'll always love the fans and the supporters. And yeah, even though I'm leaving as a player, not as a fan, I'll always be a Liverpool fan.
And Olympic champion swimmer Gary Hall has been presented with replicas of the 10 medals he won across 3 games after the originals were destroyed during the Los Angeles wildfires. Hall received the medals from International Olympic Committee President Thomas Bach during a ceremony in Lausanne, Switzerland. The 50-year-old won 5 gold, 3 silver and 2 bronze medals while competing for the United States at the 1996, 2000 and 2004 Olympic Games in Atlanta, Sydney and Athens. That sports is back to you, Anne.
Thank you, Chris. And the main news again. President Bola Tinubu today approved the renewed Hope Nigeria First policy, which mandates all federal ministries, departments and agencies to give priority to Nigerian goods, services and know-how. Briefing State House correspondents after the Executive Council meeting presided over by him, Minister of Information Mohammed Idris, says the policy aimed to change government spending, procurement processes and economic development to support local industries. That's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Anne Nwawadu. Have a wonderful week ahead. Good night.